Hello sweethearts, welcome back to my channel. On this video, we're going to be talking about 3 types of journaling methods that are sure to elevate your healing journey. So the first one is what I like to call the echo method. And basically in the echo method, you just write down, you brain scatter, and you put everything onto the page. But you don't stop there. I think a lot of the times we just think that writing it down is enough. But actually reading between the lines of your own writing is going to help you to identify where you need to heal or what that journal entry is telling you. So in the echo method, you write everything down. And then in a different color pen, you're going to try to seek out the underlying message within your writing. Now, you may be wondering, well, how am I supposed to know what the underlying message is? Here's how you'll know. Imagine you are reading this entry to someone who you really trust. And as you're reading this entry to them, for some reason, they just cannot hear you. What part of your writing would you yell back to them in order for them to actually hear what you said? This is why I call it the echo method, because whatever you are going to yell back to them or echo back to them in order for them to actually hear you is the main point of your writing. So let's do an example. Let me get out my notebook. So I wrote a fake entry the first time I taught this method, so I'm just gonna go back and read that one again. I wrote, "Dear diary, I am having a lot of thoughts running through my head and I don't know what to do. During the day, I just stop and stare for many seconds while my mind races into a stream of negative scenarios. This week, I told myself that I have to push myself harder if I want to see progress towards my goals. Period." So imagine you just read that out loud to somebody and they're like, wait, what did you just say? What is the part of this entry that you are going to yell back so you can get your point across? So if they said, what did you just say? I would say, I told myself I have to push myself harder if I want to see progress towards my goals. Like, are you not hearing me? What's wrong with you? And then they're just like, oh, okay, got you. Okay, cool. All right, so let's do another example. I decided that if I want to be successful, I have to utilize every minute of my day towards making progress. By the time I get done with everything, it's 1 a.m., but that's okay because grinding out requires sacrifice. And they're just like, wait a minute, what did you just say? And you're like, oh my gosh, I have to utilize every minute of every day towards making progress because grinding out requires sacrifice. And they're just like, oh, heard you. Okay, so now that you understand what the echo method entails, you're going to want to underline those specific key points, which takes us into the second journaling method, which is the reflection method. So now that you have everything underlined and highlighted, you're going to want to determine if whatever it is that you wrote down is either 1, a limiting belief, 2, a cognitive distortion of some sort, 3, a trigger or an anxiety, 4, proof of blessings, anything like that, something that you can pinpoint and put a label on. So here, because I underline grinding out requires sacrifice, and I utilize every minute of every day towards making progress, I recognize that as a cognitive distortion. Something in me or something from my past has told me that I need to work myself to the bone if I want to see progress, and that's just not true. So in this method, you are getting down to what the lesson is behind what you're writing. Then the third journaling method, which I recently just came up with, is called the grading system. Now, this system actually is a form of accountability practice and reflection all in one. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up your journal and flip to a previous entry. This works best with entries where you've set goals for yourself or you've laid intentions for your future. When you flip back to this entry, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to circle the things that you set out for yourself and accomplish. And when I say grading method, I literally mean that you're going to give yourself an actual letter grade on all the things that you have accomplished and set out to do. So for example, in my previous entry, I set a goal to apply for jobs and work on my resume. Now, say 2 weeks have gone by and I refer back to that entry and I still have not applied for jobs or worked on my resume. What you're going to do is you're going to dock yourself points for every area or every goal that you said you were going to hit but didn't. Let's say that I told myself that I was going to spend more time doing self-care or meal prepping before work, and I didn't do either of those things within the past 2 weeks. I'm going to go back and I'm going to dock myself points. At the end of this, you're going to see how many points you've actually lost in that cycle and see exactly where you are letting yourself down or falling short on your own path. In the end, you're going to give yourself a letter grade. So for this cycle, I only lost 4 points, which means I had a 96 out of 100, which is still an A. And I feel like this journaling method is also really great because it does show you where you are succeeding as well. A lot of the times we kind of get wrapped up in these hyper elevation practices, like I mentioned before in a previous video, that we are not actually slowing down and celebrating the milestones that we've already hit. When you do this grading scale method in your journaling, you're able to recognize and also celebrate yourself hitting those milestones. Okay, sweethearts, that concludes another episode. That concludes another video from my heart to yours. I hope you really enjoyed this one. If you did, leave me a comment. Stay tuned until next week. And as always, follow that big old smile inside your heart. See ya.